getting more technologically savvy. Next one, I'll have the remote. I think I gotta use my finger. I gotta use my finger. You guys need a minute? You want a break?
No.
We'll keep going. Ready, ready. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm wearing my cocoon nut because I'm the light, right? Yeah, I'm the light. And my new mantra is 40 is the new 20. 44 is the new 24. I just celebrated my birthday, so it's
happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm just reminding myself I can still do this. I still have a youthful heart, so that makes me I gotta keep up with all you folks. But thank you so much for having me back. I'm gonna talk about time management. A little bit talk about time management here. We got the agenda here. Time, right? Our most precious resource ever, besides the human resource. Time is something that's precious. We're going to talk a little bit about what is and what is not time management. And again, you folks know a lot of this. It's what we do and what we're challenged by and how we do what we do. I want to share with you some of the methods of time management based on a couple of the techniques that were created, 2 of them. There's so much out there. And then we jump into activity. Of course, I would love to hear for those of you who were able to do the assessment, talk story a little bit about the assessment and how you folks scored and what you found as a result. And if you haven't had time to take it, no worries, just go back to it when you can. You know, my goal as I work with you folks is to make sure that what I offer any of you, tools that you can use throughout your lifetime, whether it's tomorrow or next month, next year, next decade, right? Everything is applicable and resourceful. We can move forward. And then, of course, I had to ask some of my mastermind people some insight about time management that they want to share through me, a message. One is a little bit lengthy, but I think you guys will love it. Another one is a little bit short, but I still think you guys will love it. And then we talk a little bit about crisis management now. Crisis management, what I learned throughout my studies is that companies often overlook the importance of pre-planning for those crisis events until they happen. And everything is going crazy. If it happens again, gosh, should it happen again? You know, that's the questions we have to ask. Why are these crises happening? What is under our control and what can we do to prevent it from happening again? Mm-hmm. And where you folks are headed is just an amazing journey of delivering this amazing HiPAC and all of what you do. So to manage those little fires before they become those big fires, right? We'll talk a little bit about that today. What I wanted to share before I start asking you folks, you guys know what a paradigm shift is, right? Paradigm is basically a way of thinking. It's a belief. Yeah. You guys heard the term knowledge worker? Knowledge worker. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a real quick 2-minute. So long ago, there was the manual worker where you look at the input of the task. Say, for example, the output, that product is a pair of shoes or the automobile, right? So back in the 1900s, work was done manually where you just show up and there was machines to help produce the output of that product or service. Well, there was not so much required of the manual worker because maybe more come to work. Okay, you know what to do. You've been trained. I push this button. I watch 5 of them go this way, and then I take them off, and then I put them in the next machine. And then the next person pushes the button. Easy, right? No need for crisis management because as long as the machine is well oiled and working, it's going to produce that pair of shoes or that automobile. That's the manual worker. My parents, my grandparents, your grandparents, great-grandparents, they were considered a manual worker in this type of system. Well, there's a paradigm shift, a different way of thinking, a different world. Now, rather than the manual worker, which we still have, But there's a shift to the knowledge worker. You are all knowledge workers. What does that mean? No longer are the days where you automate things. You're creating things based off your knowledge, what you receive from your natural talent, from your purpose, from your skills, from your experience, from your creativity and how you do things, your own process, right, Ori?
Mhm.
Your own process. You now create the output, right? So how does a manual worker, if you think about it, when it comes to time management of the manual worker, easy, clock in, push the buttons, clock out, go home, easy. Knowledge worker, some of us work from home, some of us work nighttime, some of us work morning time. We all have different knowledge, right? Based on our line of work, you folks with the production, with running the business, right? No longer now do we say, okay, A plus B equals C. Guess what? You gotta go A plus C plus G, maybe K, bundle all that up and produce the output, which is the high pack you're delivering to the world. So how do we manage our time when there's no longer that routine and discipline and system? You now become the machine. You are in control of the buttons you push, right? So that's the difference between the manual worker and now 21st century, all this creative thought. The world you were born into, you are a knowledge worker. Knowledge workers are the most prized possessions of the most innovative companies, but guess what? If the companies don't care for the human resource, which is all of you, and companies around the world, they have to care for the human resource that contains the knowledge. Otherwise, the knowledge will leave, right?
Mhm.
So it's very important as you move forward, know your talents, identify purpose, apply it to that outcome. But at the end of the day, you all managing your time to deliver that project, which I keep referring to HiPAC because I'm so excited to see what you folks are going to deliver. Yeah, so I just wanted to share some of that. So another important reason for sharing this difference is you folks will notice all the kapuna in your world of work, in your life, different ways of learning, right? Different ways of working. Now you folks have a different way of learning and working and applying to deliver that and achieve that output. So remember that and consider that as you folks create the project and whatever it is you're going to deliver. Look at those who are working with you. Peter Drucker, you guys know I always have my books, right? My go-to. Peter Drucker was known as the father of science management. He simplified during that transition from the Industrial Revolution to, into 21st century. So a lot of his principles are very simple. And I went back to and I pulled out some of this. So some of the quotes, right? Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You cannot keep it, but you can spend it. Once you've lost it, you can never get it back. Ever, 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 ever. Right? Ever, ever. We're going to jump into some time management. Before I do that, I want to hear from you. What is time? Time to you is what? Time is fill in the blank. We just go around the table. Time is what?
Precious.
Precious.
Irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
Memories.
Memories. When you think of time, what is time to you?
Value.
Value, yeah, absolutely.
Time is precious.
Time is precious. And sometimes, oh, Moa, you want to say something?
I can't think of
Okay. Time is happening now. Time is clicking.
He needs more time.
He needs more time. He needs more time, and I hope we have time to cover everything. Time is precious. Time is valuable. And as we have our families, right? Time is just so precious and valuable. Time is family. How do you use it? Your time, your preparation, your opportunity. Life consists of the time that goes by. And in life, we are constantly preparing. Whether you know it or not, you are constantly preparing for that opportunity, which may not be known to us at this present moment. But everything you go through, I strongly believe every encounter, every experience, good or bad, it's preparing us for that next opportunity, right? Whether we're ready or not, right? So I want to share with you just a little bit of what Oprah, this is one of my go-to videos. I'm a fan of, I live in a very routine, to get the things done that I've gotten done in the past 3 years especially. I have structured and restructured my life so that my life is beautiful and it's meaningful and it's purposeful. So every morning I do a walk and I'll listen. I have my favorite downloads. I listen, right? Because that power of auto-suggestion, it hits our brain and it sits there in the subconscious mind. Anyway, she has a powerful message and I just want to see if I did this correctly, Caleb, and if I can click on it. I just want you to listen to the first couple minutes and we can come back to it later, or you folks can Google this, but this is one that helps me. So I want to share it with you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I didn't get her permission, but I figure it's on YouTube, so it's free for all, right? Okay, Caleb, what am I doing here? I'm just gonna do that.
As long as you have.
Do I have to log on to internet? Maybe not. The whole video is like 10 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole 10 minutes unless you folks want to, but I think the first couple minutes is like, wow, you know, so. Thank you for being open to this.
Did you update your thing?
What? This?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the only.
You have the 11.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
Oh, they didn't.
There we go.
The 11
Let's
is,
see, how old is
it's so different.
it's okay.
It's
61, you guys say?
And remember that message when I went to see her in Maui, right? She shared the message with over 6,000 Hawaii residents. She says, when we do things, do it with intention and do it with purpose.
In this world, there are a lot of things that are beyond our control. But what you do have control over is how you react to whatever happens in your life. What I now know is that we all become exactly what you believe. So if you believe that you can do all things because you have been endowed by a power from on high, given to you by the grace of God, you believe that, you walk into the world understanding that whatever problems you may encounter, you still have God to lean on. As I grew, my perception and understanding of what God means grew with me. I expanded my view of what it means to be a citizen of the universe, to be a part of the energy field that is omnipotent, omniscient, all-knowing, and all-present in all things. And so my confidence comes from knowing that there is something greater than myself, that I am a part of and is also a part of me. I call that God, but I do nothing without that understanding. How I think one masters one's life is to understand that you are co-creating that life with the ultimate creator. Not understanding that puts you at your own pitiful, meager little will. And everything is left up to you. And you can't do it. You cannot survive in this world by yourself, just believing in yourself. You're not big enough to do it. I'm not big enough to do it. Nobody's big enough to do it. You have to understand that your very presence here as a human being on earth came from something greater than you. And not just your parents who wanted to have a child. The fact that that egg was hit by that particular little sperm in that particular moment, and you were created. Wow. How amazing is that? Of all the different choices that had to happen in order for you to be here now. What a celebration that is. So when you recognize the mystery of that creation, all the circumstances that had to configure and reconfigure themselves, all the questions that we don't have answers to, you have to know this: the fact that I'm here matters. The fact that you're there matters. This is no accident. None of us are. When you do well, people notice. When you do your best, people notice. And so wherever you are, always do your best. And doing your best puts you at the next level. Nothing about my life is lucky. Nothing. A lot of grace, a lot of blessings, a lot of divine order, but I don't believe in luck. For me, luck is preparation meeting the moment of opportunity. There is no luck without you being prepared to handle that moment of opportunity. And so what I would say for myself is that because of my hand and a force greater than my own, I have been prepared in ways that I didn't even know I was being prepared for. And the truth is, for me and for every person, every single thing that has ever happened in your life is preparing you for the moment that is to come. A lot of people don't know their purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, your immediate goal is to figure that out, because otherwise you're just wandering around here. So the moment you can figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing, the sooner you are able to get about the business of doing that. The universe speaks to us always first in whispers. And a whisper usually in your life feels like, that's odd. Or, that doesn't make any sense. Or, is that right? It just really feels like that. It's that kind of subtle. And if you don't pay attention to the whisper, it gets louder and louder and louder. And I say, it's like getting thumped upside the head. You don't pay attention to that. It's like getting a brick upside your head. You don't pay attention to that, the brick wall falls down. Life is about growth and change. When you are no longer doing that, that is your whisper. That is your whisper that I am supposed to do something else. I am interested in seeing what the rest of the world has to offer me. Anybody pretending to be anything other than who you really are, you will never, ever reach your personal potential. You cannot do it. I have known for a very long time that I am a blessed person, and that to whom much is given, much is also required. That you can't have all of this and not use it for something that is for the greater good. Your intention rules your life and determines the outcome. Every time it would happen, I would say to my team, well, it doesn't matter, because every season somebody else was coming out. 1 talk show, 2 talk shows, 3 talk shows. There have been over 100 talk shows since we started. But every time I would feel like, all right, got to step up our game. Got to step up our game. The way you step up your game is not to worry about the other guy in any situation, because you can't control the other guy. You cannot control the other guy. You only have control over yourself. So it's like running a race. The energy that it takes to look back and see where the other guys are takes energy away from you. And if they're too close, it scares you. So that's what I would say to my team all the time. Don't waste your time in the race looking back to see where the other guy is or what the other guy is doing. It's not about the other guy. It's about what can you do. You just need to run that race as hard as you can. You need to give it everything you've got all the time for yourself. For yourself. What I know is you got to take responsibility for the space you hold here. And understand that the third law of motion, which says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, that is my religion. That is the fundamental construct of my religion. And by that, I mean, I know that every thought that I think, every thought that I have that moves into action is going to create an opposite and equal reaction. So everything that I put out into the world is going to come back. It's the golden rule on steroids. The golden rule on steroids. It's true that as you do unto others, they will do unto you. It's already done. There's an energy field. There's an energy flow that I strongly feel in my own life. And I know lots of other people who do. You're either in flow or out of it. And if you're in flow, it's like this. It's like this. All the time. It's like this. It's like flowing with the stream. And the flow is in direct proportion to the center of yourself, where God abides, where universal energy abides, where the divine within you abides. How far you are from the center, from the divineness of yourself, from your connection to source energy, that which created you, is how out of sync you are with your life, regardless of what you call it. When you can align with that, nobody can touch you. Gary Zukav calls that authentic power. In his book, Seed of the Soul, he says, when your personality comes to serve the energy of your soul, that is authentic power. And that's the only real power there is, because you're going to lose everything else. I don't care how beautiful you are. One day, your breasts are going to sag and your eyes are going to bag and you're not going to be as beautiful. And it doesn't matter how much Botox and how many times you get yourself pulled up and how many hairdos and how many makeovers or what you do, you know, it doesn't last. It's just like the most beautiful flowering tree. Everything passes in its time. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much power you have, how high you sit on the Forbes list, how many times you make the most influential list. All of that changes. All of that changes. But what is real, what is lasting, is who you are and what you were meant to bring. What is the gift you were meant to give? And nobody can take that away from you.
Thank you everyone for sitting through that.
No.
Has anyone seen that message before?
No.
What do you guys, can we talk a little bit about that? What did you guys get from it or feel or sense, or what jumped out at you after watching that? Pretty strong messages in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like you become exactly what you believe. That we're co-creators of life. Luck is preparation meeting that moment of opportunity.
Yeah, I like that.
Figure out what you have to be doing the sooner you can get about doing your business. Yeah.
Those are all powerful statements. Anything else resonate? Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for capturing it. Yeah, go back to that. Anybody else want to share?
That's it. I like the luck one.
I think
That there's no one.
when growth and change stop, that's kind of the indication that you need to move. And I think we think when you grow and you've reached and accomplished something, you're like, yes, I did it, I made the top, but you've made the top of that list, now you do another one and
After
then
the-
get even higher. Yeah, like can never
Never
not.
satisfied.
It's not never satisfying. It's just knowing that it never ends. Like you got to keep going, and not to prove something, but the journey, as long as you live, is constantly moving. And if you stop and stay stagnant, you'll never accomplish anything other than what you set for that one part. They never really. I guess you can always reach another potential.
Does it feel like that with this journey to High Path? Have you focused on a project in the past at this magnitude, at this level, with this outcome?
We've done other stuff that we're more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing something that we've never done before. That's new. So with High Path, it's a new thing we've never done before. So that's the challenge. Everything is new, and even though we might know how to process certain things the way we see, even the way we've done the Iron Man and all the other stuff we're familiar with, it's now a new challenge, and it's pushing yourself that you can do more. There's still something there that you can do. So when she's talking about that whole thing of knowing who you are and what you can actually do, because really we're the worst one to critique ourselves, because we think, oh, I can't do that, and we already have shut ourselves down before we give it a chance. That let's try and see, and then if you fail, you know you tried. But that's the part that I hear with Oprah. You know, she's challenging me. There's more, and focus on that. Never have anybody tell you that you can't do that.
Correct.
And it's only going to be yourself that's going to determine if you can go there or not, because nobody will make that for you. You have as an individual. So with the High Path, it's all our strength. It needs to combine, because everybody carries a strength.
Yeah.
And one person can't accomplish that.
Right.
So learning to fine tune the elements that we're strong on
Mm-hmm.
and pushing that forth, and then releasing the ones with those elements so that they can actually be those who are leading it out. And then some people may be in the supporting, but we're all learning together. So
Yeah.
that's the thing behind that. I like what she's talking about, taking responsibility for the
Yes.
space you hold.
Yes. Isn't that powerful?
Oh my gosh, okay. You know, because there's many people who are filling space and not taking responsibility for that space.
May I just add to what you just brought up? So when you see people being busy, don't ever mistake busyness for being effective,
Productive.
productive.
Yeah.
Is the busyness
Yeah.
just a facade, just a temporary appearance for productivity?
Yeah.
Dive into the meaning of that busyness. You know, especially when you folks working as a team. And not to say you cannot take time out to recharge the batteries, right? And take a break. But make sure that busyness is never mistaken for, yes, productivity. But taking responsibility for the space, right? And when we work in teams, again, this paradigm shift, when you work in teams and people are contributing from their special talents of what their gift is and what their contribution is, you may feel sometimes that you're giving more than others. You know, so stay focused on the objective, the mission, and see how each of those strengths are contributing to that outcome.
Yeah.
Right? To that final outcome. So with time management, you know, being effective and knowing the results and knowing the contribution, knowing where you're going to end up, right?
It's like the building that was when we
I know.
Habitat.
Yes.
It's like, you know, there's people, let's say, I'll make an example, you know, like, some of our guys who just work in the office, you know, then you get out to where it's hard work, like, oh, you gotta do labor. They're not used to that. And then they're like, oh, I can't do, I'm an office worker. And so you're already shooting yourself because, oh, it's like, I only want to be this. So, inside of me it goes, oh, no. This is another level.
Yes.
So I'm going to go beyond what I'm comfortable with.
Yes.
So it's really, like I said, you control that space and see how you grow.
Yes.
But I looking at habits and I'm going, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that. And then you see somebody who has the gifting and they come in and execute it and
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. But then you're so appreciating of those people and
Yes.
what they carry to complete certain things. And then I said, I can't do that, but I can support this thing, and whatever I can do, that might not be my strength, but I can support whatever's going on and not feel shut down that, oh, but I can't do that, and then you just sit and take space,
Yes.
not utilize that space.
Yes.
That's how I'm seeing.
That's a perfect example, right? And especially when the outcome is on something bigger than us.
Yeah.
Habitat would stay on that, right? It's somebody's safety and home, where they're gonna experience life and establish memories, create memories, right? To spend their most precious time, right? And so when we look at it that way, when we shift our paradigm on what our purpose is for being a part of the Habitat for Humanity Ohana, we find where we can help. Hey, I could cut oranges and watermelon. I'm a good, cutter of produce and fruit. But, just to share those examples. So, anybody else want to add about the video? What was jumping out or meaningful or purposeful? These are all great contributions to what we just watched. How are you folks managing your time with the HiPAC process? Does everybody feel that you're managing your time and what you're contributing to that end result? Does it feel at a pace that's doable? Does it feel like you have your plan, that you know what you need to achieve to arrive at that end result on the delivery day? Does it feel like that's in place? Do you have your blueprints sketched out? Do you know the contributions roughly of your team?
Yeah, let's hear from them.
I think some departments more than others.
Okay.
Like,
Are you following? No.
Sorry, yeah. Some departments more than others.
yeah, like for the fashion show, it's like there's just things that has to be done, but it's not like it's gonna be pulling teeth or anything like that. It's not. It's a small team, so at the moment it's good. So yeah, I would say my side isn't as bad.
Hello.
Hi.
Where did she come from?
She had swimming today.
Oh, swimming.
Alex.
Early day of school and then
In practice.
His cookies.
you want cookie there? Marina's cookie.
No problem.
But yes, so when working in teams, right? Everybody's contributions. We rely on our team members, right, to get to that outcome. Never a bad idea to revisit the master plan, shape it as you go, right? So that we have a good cadence, a good timing, spaced out, managing life in addition to creating this amazing project, right? Does everybody feel confident in having the support and resources? Are there problems or challenges that are preventing anyone from moving forward to that next task?
I think the main focus right now is Ironman that's coming up. So
Yeah.
that's one of the main projects that we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
which is the Heroes of Hawaii.
Okay.
So
That's how far away?
that's in
Like
October the 9th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that we're in charge of handling right now at the moment. The things that we are managing right now is the board meetings and the certain paperwork and documents and logos and et cetera for the high pack that needs to get done, sponsorship letters, and just trying to build the committees. And I think from there, because it is still brand new and shaping, we still have to form some committees and then do the due diligence and give out the certain tasks according to the committee that is necessary. So that's where we're at, I believe, as a team. Yeah.
All sounds exciting.
It is.
All sounds doable though.
Yeah.
All
very
sounds
doable.
doable.
So I think once we knock out Heroes of Hawaii, then we can
Our
focus on.
focus will go back.
When one initiative wraps up, you get ready for the other one. Right?
Yeah.
In this book, I pulled out some of my favorite parts of that chapter. Time is the most precious resource, right? Page 25. Effective executives, in my observation, do not start with their tasks. They start with their time. And they do not start out with planning. They start by finding out where their time actually goes. Then they attempt to manage their time and to cut back unproductive demands of their time. Finally, they consolidate, they put together all that, loose time, busyness, non-productive time into the largest possible units in 3 steps. They record their time, they track their time, they manage that time, and then they consolidate the extra time after looking at, was that time-wasting activities? Is that unproductive? Am I on YouTube a little bit too much? Like me? But you get pulled back in when you focus on the objective. Effective executives know that time is the limiting factor. The output limits of any process are set by the scarcest resource. In the process we call accomplishment, this is time. Scarcest resource. Time is also a unique resource, right? The supply of time is totally inelastic. No matter how high the demand for time, the supply will never go up. Time is totally irreplaceable. Everything in life requires time. It is the only truly universal condition. All work takes place in time and uses up time. Yeah. Pretty powerful when you think about it in that way. We take for granted. I know I did. I took for granted. I'll do that later. The Bombay. Bombay. Never mind. After. What if that after never comes? Right? Due to unforeseen circumstances, due to crisis that occur. What if that time never comes? Yeah, so give that some thought. Humankind, he said man in here, but I had to include humankind for men and women. Humankind is ill-equipped to manage his or her time. People still struggle with that time management, right? They can get lost in time. They can get lost at what they are supposed to carry out. So what is time management? According to Harvard Business Review, one of my favorite go-to resources, they have wonderful articles. Time management is the way that you organize and plan how long you spend on specific activities. Some of the benefits, right? Greater productivity, less stress, better professional reputation. Is this HiPAC not like one of the most amazing opportunities in your lifetime?
At the moment.
Okay.
We're still trying to figure that out.
It's still marinating, right? It's still marinating. I asked you all a few classes ago, what does it mean? And I heard the honest answers. Some, there's fear. Some, hey, it's a new challenge, new territory, never been there before. Some risks we gotta do, right, and take. We gotta challenge our own human potential, see what we're made of, right? But it's all gonna require that time. what is not time management? Okay, so when you fail to manage your time, consequences are undesirable, right? We may miss some deadlines, right? If I could go back in my 20 years, boy, how I would do things differently. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back, I would have been on time more to be there for opportunity, right? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You hear people say, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should have, would have, could have done that. Inefficient workflows. So it's important, right, as you folks work together as a team. We all have a responsibility for the space on the team in delivering. Poor professional reputation and a stalled career. It can hurt your career when you don't manage the time effectively. Oh. Okay. Time wasters. Let's spend, you guys doing okay? You want a quick break? Good? Let's spend a few minutes, just jot down privately, then we can share. What are some of the time wasters in your life? What activities, what people, what hobbies that pull you away from?
Time waster, you mean?
Well, I should go back and ask, do you feel you have any time waster activities in your life? Some of us may be so efficient and so productive, but what are some of the distractions that you feel, you can be honest with yourself about?
Some may not feel that that's the distraction. That's the problem. I find going to the movies is a productive way of living.
Me too, that gives ideas.
Exactly. For us, yeah.
For us, my mom would like
Video games.
to the point was fire. Yeah.
Just depends on what you think.
Podcast for time.
I was curious to ask this question because I know how truly naturally talented you all are. And most, if not all of what you folks get involved with, to some people maybe, that's wasting time, but with you folks, we're creating our HiPAC, we're creating beyond HiPAC, right? So I know this may be a little challenging, but what are some of the time wasters? And think of it in terms of the HiPAC, okay? As I pose these questions, I'm going to challenge you folks to just think of that final outcome. So my goal is to encourage you folks to stay in that frame of mind to see what is wasting time to getting you to HiPAC. Everybody got their answers? Are we okay to discuss this?
How to?
I'm gonna do a little temperature check. Are we gonna be friends after we talk about this? Everybody got something?
For HiPAC.
Right, so knowing your contribution to HiPAC, to the development and delivery of HiPAC to the world, what are some time wasters that are stopping you or preventing you from being effective and accomplishing your task, your part, your responsibility in that space?
This is a question for you.
That's general.
I think it's on my
Specific to HiPAC, we know we have the events coming up, Ironman. We know we have our other, right, the Kuleana that we have daily, but yet we still have HiPAC, right, that's in the mix. So knowing what chunks of time we've consolidated to give honest contribution on those tasks, your responsibility to delivering HiPAC. Are there any time wasters that are getting in the way? And it could vary on the week. Right? But is there one or two specifically, consistently, always coming up that we can say, okay.
I put unnecessary conversations and meetings. Like you meet and you leave with the same thing you came with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And for me, that's like time wasted because you go into this expecting
The result.
something
I agree.
and nothing happens, so then you don't want to meet at all. Which more time gets wasted because you don't want to meet because nothing gets done. I put that, and I also put unnecessary questions. Like people like to ask the easy questions or off topic, and then you get into like dreaming and all those things, but you don't ask the important questions, or it's very surface. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You
Which
gotta dive
is
deep.
time,
You gotta dive deep.
which is a waste of time to me.
I agree with you.
And I get stuck in that because, like, I don't want to come off me, so you just kind of sit there and like, no, but you know nothing's actually getting resolved here if we're being truthful with ourselves.
So one.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I hope that
May I offer one suggestion
Please do.
for the agenda that's being created?
Mhm.
Shape the question to stay on task. Time it. I'm a fan of, okay, 5 minutes, we got 5 minutes. We'll get there, we'll get something.
Bing, you're done.
It's not always that simple though, because
No,
we
it's
don't
not
talk
always.
about it that often, and so a lot of the time when they do bring it up, it's like, okay, this is the update. You guys know your departments, like, and then there's like, okay, class is done, you know what I mean? Like, it's never really like, okay, we're bringing it, this is the update, this is what the board decided, now what is our next step? You know what I mean? It's never like that, it's always like this huge thing, like, okay, yeah, here you go.
Process.
Like,
It's not completely processed.
So maybe
You have
chunking it
steps.
down into the next steps rather than this is the
Yeah.
big
It has to
vision.
go from
Yeah.
that
The
to
organization.
just, yeah.
When they go out,
Great, that's great, yes, it's not always easy.
yeah, it can be like overwhelming if you're just like throwing it to, you know, and then we see this big huge picture, but then nobody really, because we haven't done anything like it, so a lot of us is like,
And that's the hard
What's
part,
next, right?
is we're not going off of a guideline, we're going off of
We're trying to figure
an
it out.
event that
We're
we've
trying to figure
never
it out
done.
ourselves.
So that's
Too late when
the
we
more
realized it was
frustrating.
wasted, like what we were trying to do. We could've,
Like the
ignored
event that we're
big
doing now is Ironman. We did it last year together as a
Right, so
class.
we feel more
And we
prepared.
knew what the downfalls were, and this year we know what we're not going to do. So it's easier. But when it comes to High Pack, we have other people that our class isn't necessarily associated that's making all the calls. And when they say, oh, your class is putting it together, it's kind of hard because not all of us are in those meetings to say our opinions or to hear what's going on. It's other people who are shaping and making. Like, I'm in charge of fashion, and I came back and the entire fashion show changed. And I was like, when did this happen? And it's hard to have to, why is someone else making it a decision? And there's stuff that still are like everywhere that it's not completely our class that's doing all of it, if that makes sense. Which makes it harder for us to know where the communication is when we just hear, oh, this is what's happening. There you go. Instead of knowing the deep roots of it.
Yeah, that is definitely challenging because as the creators, you want your voice to be represented at the decision-making table or through that process. You're going to be creating and delivering. I don't know where we are though in this picture. Okay.
I think we started off as the beginning and then we got a board that wasn't even with our class.
Okay.
And so I don't know, maybe finding out where we're at, what our part actually really is in
In the
High
big
Pack.
vision.
Yeah.
Do we all know the big vision? Are we all comfortable knowing what that big vision is and what the mission of this group is in achieving that vision? Those are two really important questions. Especially when multiple groups are working together that have the decision-making power, know the big vision. I hope that vision is being shared with everyone here. But more importantly, know the mission that you must achieve collectively as a team to fulfill that vision. Those are important questions, and then even more so, the next steps, right? The process, the system. You got all these planets orbiting. We're trying to find the sun. We all want to make it around the sun.
I think we know the bigger picture, but we don't know what our class contributes to it as a whole. But we know our own little departments that we're a part of,
Okay.
but nobody really knows anything else further than that. Like I said, we get updated every once in a while on this short 15, 20-minute
Okay.
part of the class, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you guys do what's supposed to be next. So, yeah.
Is there opportunity for you folks to generate some questions? Some next step questions?
You know, I think part of the other thing with the event is that they need to be part of some of that meeting when we have the
They
board.
meaning this
Yeah, but
here?
not everybody can
Okay.
make those meetings, so,
Okay.
because when the board comes together,
Yeah.
there's a portion of it where maybe we can give, you know, them an opportunity to share what are their questions, so
Uh-huh.
that it's, you know, bringing some sort of understanding, and then have them,
Mhm.
you know, share from, because, you know, the Hype Pack started it off with our group. And when the board was formed, things changed, because then the board is sort of like, you know, kind of
Guiding. them.
guiding,
Yeah.
you know, this the big kahuna guiding
Yeah.
the whole thing. And part of that, some of those that are coming on board, they're just hearing it, you know, the vision. And so, of course, everybody wants to put in their little, you know, Juliana, what they want to see. But we're wanting to make sure we steer and keep the vision
Yes.
to what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
Because sometimes it kind of changed a little bit. We started it off with these festival things, and then we felt, you know, this might be too big. We're just starting this thing. We need to start small.
Yes.
And what is it that is happening now?
Yes.
And kind of highlight that. So that's how this came through with the hula competition with the kids, to start it off with that. And really focus on our island. Because at first we're like, oh, let's focus everywhere else, you know, let's get all these groups in from everywhere. And knowing that because this is the first time we're doing this,
Uh-huh.
we don't know how that's going to turn out, because it's the first event.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of scale it down, do what we know the best, like
Yes.
we can put together these hula festival, because we know that stuff.
Mhm.
So that's where we felt maybe pursue the kids, because
Yes.
we don't have any of that here in Kona too,
Yeah.
and kind of highlight the, you know, Kona. So that's how all that kind of changed. And I know how the class kind of feel, oh, I thought we were supposed to do this, and now we're doing that. So when they're jumping in, they're not all there, because things have changed in communication. That's where communicator from our last podcast. But I think those are things, it's important, these group here are
Yes.
able to voice out what they're sensing,
Oh, yes.
for the board to hear that. That's
Yes.
why when we do have that board meeting, I think it's important if some of you are making that, so that you can ask those questions that you're struggling through.
And may I add a little bit to what you're sharing? So one approach that works is, you know, when things are being questioned or challenged, speak in those I statements, right? Nobody ever wants to feel the blame, like, you guys not inviting us, that's why we're failing. In the professional world, people will hear these requests for help. They'll hear about the challenging situations you're facing. Keep in mind to speak in I. I want to deliver, I understand what the vision is, however, I'm not able to achieve that at the moment because ABC. I feel that if we are to take a look at some of these next steps, we can take the next steps to move forward, right? Speak in terms of you and your shoes, right? So that it's the feeling you want to convey to the other person, to get them thinking, boy, they need these next steps, right?
Yeah.
Without these next steps, they cannot get to the big picture. I just want to add that little bit. That's something I've learned many years ago. People are willing to listen to you, especially when, you know, things are not, it's how you say it. Yeah. Not so much what you say, but how. But ask for what you need, right? ask for what you need. If somebody is requesting something of you, your time, your talent, the outcome, of course, I can do a much better job if I know the next steps. Here's what we feel is working. We got these things working, but here's what we feel is not working. And here's what we feel can work if we are given, right, the tools, the next steps to work with. Just a little, does that make sense? Does that make sense? But yes, very important to be a part of that in the changing of communication, right? Know the outcome and know your contribution, but know what's missing, what's preventing you from achieving. You folks know you can achieve. I know you guys can achieve, right? With your eyes closed, you guys got this. You guys are so talented. But to not be given the specifics, right? That's like not giving you guys all the information and then being told, how come you guys didn't do it?
fail?
Right? That's not
Exactly.
fair. We want equality. We all want to be at the table, equally participating, right?
Yeah, well, and I think like Sheena said though, like we're always just focused on the next project.
Yeah.
So like right now we're all just focused on
Yeah.
Heroes of Hawaii, you know what I mean? So like that's like the long-term goal that we're all
Yeah.
like we have in mind, but at the same time we're like I can't think of that right now. Like I think it is like you know I like work through all of this first, and then I can think of that. But
Yeah.
it's like oh, it's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
And not
But we're
enough
just
time.
like not yeah, we're just like losing time because it's coming up soon.
So focus on the positive, what we want more of, what's working. Always, we know we got challenges. What's working? You know, what little things can we work on today that needs the next steps?
What is working?
Two of these methods, right, I want to share with you folks. One is the Eisenhower, our 34th president, President Eisenhower. He created this method. It's called urgent and important, right? He says, I got urgent matters and important matters. Now, which one is prioritizing? Which one is priority? After you guys can Google if you want the Eisenhower, but this is the quadrant, right? So we have the level of importance of the task, right? And then we have the level of urgency. So he would literally make a quadrant. Know the one thing that you have to accomplish each day, right? Plan for the time to get it done. Plan particularly for to minimize your distractions if that's possible. Right? So choose the time of day when you feel most productive. Try to
That's what I
block
do.
off, right? Anyway, he has these 4 quadrants. According to if it's something that's extremely important, it goes up into the important quadrant, important goals. But little, and then he looks at the urgency. If it's extremely high urgency but low importance, that's an interruption. Right? High urgency, high importance, critical activities has to be done. Low importance, low urgency, that's a Bombay, like after. That's a major distraction. This was a real simple one, you know. You can Google after and it gives you some leading questions, but you begin to think, gosh, is that really important? Is there really urgency? Or am I choosing to make that a distraction from what's truly important and what's truly urgent? You know, the deadlines. Are there deadlines of tasks that we have? And then this one here, the POSEC method, it's just an acronym, POSEC. Prioritize your time and define your life by your goals. Organize things you have to accomplish regularly to be successful, right? How we organize our time. Streamline things you may not like to do, but you have to do to get work done. Economize things you should do or may even like to do, but they're not urgent. Contribute by paying attention to the few remaining things that make a difference, obligations. So there's a lot of different methods, you guys, and tools you can Google and research, but I particularly like this one for me because, again, it gets me to be honest with myself. And there's some leading questions for each of the 4 quadrants, and it just asks, okay, is there a deadline? If it's a deadline and it's urgent and it requires your time, yeah, that's critical. Get it done. There's no deadline, but it's something I want to do just because. Yeah, so it helps you reshape. I always tell my kids, do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Time and focus. So we as humans, we're organisms. We operate on cycles. Chronobiologically, right? We operate on 24-hour cycles. Our systems, at times we feel more energized. At times our energy is lower. It's called ultradian rhythms. The human body, the human mind, can maximize a focus time of up to 90 minutes. So some of the most effective executives plan their day 90-minute chunks. Then they take a 20-minute break, they go for a walk, they grab a snack, they listen to music, they call a friend, they draw, whatever. Then they go for the next 90 minutes. But we, focus-wise, cognitively with the brain on what we can retain, what we can do to work, studies show that 90 minutes is a solid chunk of time. Now within those 90 minutes, another guy created the Pomodoro technique, where within the 90 minutes, you work for 25 increments and then you take a 5-minute break, right? So overall, like what our human potential for our highest level of focus and concentration, we can ramp up to 90 minutes and just say 90 minutes, 1.5 hours, I'm gonna work, get it done, then I can take a break. Okay, within those 90 minutes, another guy in the 80s used to set a timer that looked like a tomato. In Italian, pomodoro means tomato. So he created the tomato technique. I use the tomato technique on my iPhone. I set, and I've done this, and what's funny is as I was preparing for this class, I didn't know this technique existed, but since my children were born and small, I started them all at 2 at preschool, and I put them on these like 5-minute increments, 10 minutes, set the timer, let them go grab snack. Now they're all on 25 minutes, standing in there. 25 minutes, maybe, and they know they can get a break. You know, they come home, they go, Mom, yeah, I set the timer on my iPad, I got it. They set the timer, they work, 20 minutes, 25, then they get like a 5-10 minute. Then they go back into it, they set the timer. But it works for them and their rhythm and their cycle. And as they get older, I'm gonna encourage them to set the timer a little bit longer. But this is something that you can do to discipline your own self, because as we're mamas, as we're career people, as we're community contributors, you can get lost in time and space doing not so important things. But when it comes down to these projects and things and priorities, right? So I challenge you and encourage you, try if you don't already. Does anybody put themselves on a schedule? Mm-hmm. So much? Do you guys ever try to do the timer?
No. I thought I put myself on a relaxed timer.
Oh, the relaxed timer works. You tried more? How does it work for you?
I had to for when I was in graphic design. They said 3 hours on and then 20 minutes off.
Okay.
For your eyes. But it worked because you come back in and you're like straight into it. And you're like, oh, 3 hours really, like, you know, when you got one more set and then they're done. So you got to think about it.
90 to 180 minutes. 90 at the minimum, 180 minutes, so 3 hours. But taking that break and then you come back, it kind of recharges. So our bodies already operate on those rhythms. So I challenge you again to know your rhythm. You guys know some work morning hours better, some work evening hours better. You guys get that surge of energy.
I know.
Who's more morning workers here?
We have to.
Have to. You don't have a choice. If you didn't have a choice, if it wasn't up to reporting, and you just could work, you had your dream job, and no reporting to, when is your most creative time on the clock throughout the 24-hour period?
I'm a morning, I'm a night, but I'm not afternoon.
No afternoon? Nighttime.
A crash afternoon.
I think for me it's just that period of time where I have just to myself. So it could be the morning, it could be the night, but it's mainly those two. It's never in the weekend. The kids.
2 o'clock down.
It's like, it's either like extremely morning, like 3 or 4 o'clock to 6 when they start waking up, or else it's like 10 o'clock to 12,
Yes.
1 o'clock in the morning. But it's not, I don't think it's a time difference, it's more like my self-preference.
Your self-preference,
Yeah.
I do that too, wake up to have a little time before the kids wake up. But find that system, you gonna say something?
Me.
Who was gonna say something?
Well, we on 10-hour, then break, 10 hours.
Yeah, we're talking. Then break. For me, I feel like
Gotta
I
finish the
need to
project.
finish the project before I can relax. Because if I relax, I will get sidetracked. Like when I go shopping, I'm that girl who I know what I need to get, and I get in and get out. If I walk around, I will end up buying something I don't need because I get sidetracked. So when I work, like when I used to work at the desk for myself and we had to do preparation for like the day,
Yeah.
usually the morning time would be the time to finish everything. So then when afternoon hits, I can just sit and relax and not have to worry about anything. But before, I don't think it used to be like that. Now it is. So I'm not a morning person at all, but I feel now if I were to choose a time, it'd be the morning.
Yeah.
Because then nighttime I can relax and I don't have to work at night. And I'll stay up till like 1 watching a movie or something instead of having to do a deadline. Yeah.
So I wanna challenge you folks, are you guys doing okay? You wanna take a break, stand up? Everybody stand up, let's stand up and do a stretch. Right?
I gotta go back.
Stretch it out.
Yeah,
Take a
take 5
breather.
minutes.
Yeah, go for it, go for it. Has anybody ever logged their time?
Yep,
Yes.
I do it at the
Just
podcast,
log in.
everything.
Yeah.
I'm logged in. I have over 100-something hours.
We love time. Yes, we do.
For your own activities,
No, for our class.
for your class, but for like your time during
Oh,
your
no.
day.
Yeah, I need one to log in.
Oh no, it's in my.
I need to log time.
This is
for
just
me.
a sample exercise.
How- Have a cookie.
One cookie? Cookies look your favorite chocolate chip.
Your brother's so lucky, huh?
No, older cousins went, and then when grandma and grandpa come back, the younger cousins going, I don't know where they're going yet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my son called me yesterday. He said, "Oh, hi, son. Where are you?" He goes, "Mommy, I'm in Bordeaux." I said, "Oh, you in France?" He goes, "Yeah, we're on our way to Spain." I said, "Oh, you're lucky." Yeah.
Oh.
I'm tired. You tired? You want a cookie?
Cookie will pick you up.
Have a cookie. Yeah, this chocolate chip.
Oh, those cookies look so good.
Look at these. Nice.
Nice price too.
Yeah.
It was an emergency. I had a problem and there was absolutely no cute heels anywhere. That would match. This was at Macy's first sale for $80, 200 to 80. I had to, 200 to 80.
You better use them.
Oh, I do.
You know, make good use of them.
Thank you.
That's my grandma coming out of me. My grandma always said, "Oh, you guys need more than one pair of shoes."
They are. I use them a
Those are
lot
cute.
for nice. If I didn't do things like this, then I would. Thank you. I like those. I have heels like that too, but they're
These are
purple.
my Payless.
Yeah, I will pay less.
You know, before my kids, I love shoes.
Yeah.
I love shoes. And when I was living on the mainland, you know, the outlet.
Oh. I
Oh
know.
gosh, you like slippers with this?
Yeah, I want to. That was super.
You do? Yeah. She's playing the piano.
Oh
She's
my
in
God, I
her
love the piano.
fourth year.
Oh, wow.
Not your year. She was playing. It is your fourth year.
No.
Well, you must be good now,
Good.
huh? You good? Oh, good.
Practice.
We gotta hear you play.
She likes to practice. They either draw or they go, "Auntie, give it to me." I say, I go, yeah.
My husband's texting. When you finish with class, I haven't seen him all day. He feels neglected. He goes,
Thank you for being here.
he goes, when are you done with class? 7:30, why? I'm thinking we should go out and have dinner together. I was,
Oh,
That
nice.
sounds good, where?
Are you waiting for the response?
He doesn't want to cook. Today he didn't go to the building thing, because he's been going every
Oh,
day.
no.
And then last night when he went to bed, he goes, oh, I'm sore. He goes, are you going tomorrow? I said, I think I'm gonna break a little bit today, and then I'm going back tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah, he's been going home. Oh, man, I only went Saturday and then I went yesterday.
This is my first break.
That's your first break?
From the building. Oh,
Yeah.
She went every day from Saturday.
I wish I could.
Oh,
go
Saturday I
every
was
day.
exhausted, and I went yesterday, I was tired, so I didn't
On Saturday, oh my gosh, I was so burned, and I went, as soon as I showered, man, I fell on that bed, that was it.
Yeah,
I knocked out.
Connie's been down there today doing the tiling and stuff.
I was pushing through.
Uncle Al's been slamming it away with. It's been good.
Thank God for Ghana, because Nani was saying, I told Ghana, we need painters. And Ghana was so surprised there's no painters.
It was that-
volunteer.
It was that Sunday. You were out there? No. Oh no, Auntie Nani came out on
Came Monday.
Sunday, and I told Auntie Nani, I gotta call my cousin to come down here and paint with the spray paint.
It was nice of him to come.
Cause
volunteer to
I
find
said,
out.
my arm is killing me. I don't like doing this anymore. She said, fix him and he'll come down.
I was talking to some of the Habitat people came to Buffalo for tomorrow, and they're like, we're just.
Oh, but they had 35 people last night.
They're coming in different
There's,
times.
yeah, there's
Oh.
different people that's going, but I was like, oh, how was it? They're like, just.
A lot of them are the older ones, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of older people.
It's like the Hawaiian with mission builders,
Yeah,
those ones, you know, where they come to build in, which is the older ones.
yeah.
Yes, a lot more older ones.
I'm surprised that they
Some
don't
of the
have
young
that
ones
much,
come
like,
and save minutes
volunteer.
and then they leave because they gotta work.
Yeah. Not everybody get vacation.
If
time.
it's whatever the job is, they come in and then they leave.
But thank God for the locals here, though.
My legs is the one killing up and down a lot, up and down, up and down.
Couldn't find mine, but I can't not work.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on schedule and it's like slow season, so they only have certain.
Well, they have tomorrow and Friday, yeah?
Yeah, 2 more days. But they're doing most of the inside stuff, so now more is more the inside stuff. The ones that can't do the inside, like doing all the outside stuff. Actually have a lot.
And I might have to.
Or is that saying,
What?
it's been good?
Yeah, I gave you one.
Say we should go for dinner.
I never had it. I never had anything from all the stuff you gave
Over
my sister.
thinking, eat
I mean, I
out.
ate one croissant.
I said 7:30, come here, so we, okay.
Because I like go work and I come home and I get everything.
Oh,
Some of the stuff in mildew too, though.
oh,
Like all or something. Like the baby food.
yeah, you gotta use them within the
Right
day.
away.
Evidently. Or freeze it. Yeah, so once it goes, I think. It's hot, man. You need is all you need is
Oh, what's that Maria making? Look, she's making something for dinner. Oh,
And meatballs.
yeah, it looks like meatball. Okay, Ma, I guess we go in your house for dinner.
Hmm.
Come on. 7 o'clock, supposed to finish. Making dinner. Because I wanted to do things herself, plus for this messy job.
You need this paper?
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I went to my kids in cooking classes and cook for me.
I don't know, I
Okay,
gotta
well,
like, waste my time at work, I gotta go off. Take a fun time.
You work now? Let's get it a fun time.
Alright, let's schedule a fun time.
Thanks for saying that.
Saying what?
With the high pack stuff, they're just gonna got everybody thinking, you know.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Thank you. Shit, I should have recorded that. Who is that?
What's her name? Linda's brother.
That's her brother?
Mm-hmm. She's always trying to hook me up with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's like, you would be perfect for my brother. But he's so young. I wish he was
How
the
old is
same.
he?
He's like 20. He's probably 20. No, he's older a little bit now. Probably 25, 26.
I feel like everybody's that age right now.
I know, and I feel like I've gotten so old already that I was like, I was 26. Like, I wish I would have stayed in that area. Then you go to 30 and you're like, dang, who's 30? Like, who's, it's not even a 10 years to 40, lads. First of all, we'll get there.
Where's Caleb? Come on, Caleb.
No? Yeah.
Caleb.
It's okay, it's okay.
He's singing. He's singing his
Yeah, that's him.
First time I talked to Clever.
Stop snoring out there. We can hear you from in here.
Talk tomorrow or something.
That was his 20-minute break.
Hour now.
Hour now. I just hand out to all of you folks.
3 minutes,
I just handed out.
20 minutes.
You don't have to do this now, but I encourage you in a day in the life of you. A day in the life of you. Where does your time go? And you may have to shift, you know, for some
It
of us,
only
we wake up
stops to
early.
5
I know.
p.m., which is
I
Island
know.
Breeze. All the way. From
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Where does your time go? Give that some thought.
This is my
Okay.
2007.
Yeah.
I know
Okay,
you do.
well,
Yeah.
This is on my phone, see?
Oh, there you go.
Schedule.
All our schedules are in there,
Okay, planner, yeah.
obviously.
Planner time.
And this is all.
Where does the time go?
No, 10 please.
Sunday.
Or you can.
You folks want to do this now?
I got two schedules.
You want to go through it now?
Okay, I can just
Do
show
I
you
want to
mine.
spend my time?
How do you spend your time throughout the day?
Oh, we can put it up there.
How come we don't have like?
And do you
12?
have categories of time? For
12 a.m.,
example, for those of
1
us who are mamas and daddies, how much time goes to the kiki and the
This
ohana?
is
Oh, are
only
you filling
from,
it out right now?
For those.
I
all
just
of
wanna
you
see where
working,
my time
how much
goes.
time
It must
within
go
that
by
time?
days. Sunday, Thursday, Saturday. Saturday afternoon.
How much time is for yourself
Yeah.
to downshift, as we call it,
I'll
in
do
the
this
Blue
later.
Zones project? How much time do you give to recharge your?
Oh, myself is about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
All I did as a mama, I locked myself in the bathroom and just sat on the floor.
I have
where
to
nobody
sneak,
bothered me.
sneak home when I want to go shower. Bring the towels, go to the shower, meet me in the bathroom.
How much time is spent throughout the day planning?
Give me a new one.
Right, right. How much time is praying, how much time is crying, how much time is laughing, how much time is stressing, how much time is
It's all my time.
Try to categorize it.
I'm pretty long now, so blow it out of the water.
What I need to do is get better at my fun time.
How much time do we have for social?
Anita has coffee shop time.
Coffee shop.
Yeah,
Coffee shop time, 7 o'clock,
That's from
7
8.
o'clock in the morning.
Pretty much from 8 to
You know so well, right? Honestly though, I'm up in the morning, whether it's at home.
You can change the times at the
I need to
top
have my
The
coffee.
AMs?
7
to AM or PM. I just found this and printed it out. But if you start your day earlier, for example, 3 AM, 4 AM, you know, try to give an honest stab at where does your time go? When does your time start? When you're awake and conscious and doing something.
5 a.m. wake up call, 6 o'clock,
5 a.m. is when I go to sleep.
6 o'clock get the kids out, 7 o'clock out the door, preschool,
I need to spend time with them.
coffee shop, work.
My mom doesn't like to leave.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Goes in the afternoon,
Every time I ask,
preschool,
oh, let's go do
school,
something.
drop off,
Depends what the accident.
And
You know that you
then if it's
Yeah,
you want to
exactly.
volunteer
No.
time,
That's
When I
it.
say,
Oh,
"Oh,
he's
I'm
gonna
gonna
take
take you to
it.
dinner. I can't wait
Stuff
to
he's
meet
doing.
more volunteer
Then when
time.
he's done, then he comes in right now. I said, what do you want? Now he has time and he's sitting on the computer.
So as you go through this, yeah, I'm just gonna share procrastination, right? We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. Procrastination in any one of us will be low. Studies show low procrastination when the task we know needs to be done. There's urgency, there's deadlines. People are depending on my
That was the
outcomes,
video, the
right?
monkey.
I procrastinate
So,
my emails.
Will be low on procrastination. Where procrastination is high is when the task
It's
maybe
minimal.
minimal, we don't really know much about it, we may not be interested. It's that bum by, right?
Just put it in the folder.
Just file it,
File it away.
keep filing it.
Go further and further.
Go further and
I
further.
go flag it.
On the opposite side, right, when we're motivated, there's two types of motivation. People can be intrinsically motivated, so that means what matters to you, what your interests are, what your purpose, what your drive is, right? What you decide your reason is for being involved. You're intrinsically motivated. When you're extrinsically, externally motivated, that's been placed upon you. Some people are motivated when others give you deadlines. I need this by 5 o'clock tomorrow. Got it. Right? For this purpose. I'll come to that. I need this by next Saturday. Not the rough draft, but the final. I need the production by next month. Right?
That is helpful when there's deadlines. We need that.
So thank you for sharing that. If you know that keeps the fire lit,
We need that for
everybody
high
moving,
The little
create
tasks instead
that.
of a deadline.
create that deadline and celebrate the victories, right? Enjoy the process. It's all about the process. No sense we go from A to Z only to get to another Z. You gotta enjoy the process. Acknowledge everybody's contributions. Talk story, have fun, take your breaks. But stay on task by, if you know deadlines work, little mini deadlines, build that into the schedule, right?
Thank you so much.
Build it.
Make my own deadline.
So here's some extra sheets I'm gonna leave for some of the others, yeah?
I'm reading this on the phone.
I'll hold that.
We're doing it now.
Oh, one more thing. Okay. I shared earlier, we gotta do what we have to do, right? Do what we have to do so we can do what we want to do.
Yeah.
My senior that's graduating this year, Peyton, she has heard this for years. These guys have been hearing it for the past couple of years. Do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Mommy, I want to get iPad. Mommy, I want to do this. Mommy, I want to. Can you read? Did you do your homework? Did you do what you have to do? Now you can do what you want to do. But you know, even as adults, right? It's like, oh, okay, I gotta do what I have to do so I can do what I want to do. Mastermind. So I reached out to my mastermind, Miss Maya, and I asked her, I'm teaching on time management. Will you please share something so I may share with them? And it's a lot of words, but I want to, she said, of course, and then she said, in life, it's important not to be overwhelmed with minutia, the small stuff. True happiness depends on focusing on the people and projects that matter the most to you. And it's important, therefore, to take time to reflect on your priorities. It's like the story Rocks, Pebbles, and Sand. Start with the large stones, the big issues, because when you fill your days and schedule with sand-sized matters first, you will not have space for the important things in life. Don't get lost or overwhelmed with emails, social media, arguments, annoyance, superficial matters, or worry. Ask yourself this: what am I building? What is my purpose? And keep those answers to those questions in mind every single day. Right? I thought that was so beautifully said from somebody who is so globally involved. And you know, she's had this conversation with her brother as he's had to lead our free world during his administration. But it all comes down to things we already know. So when I saw this from her, and I had never asked her this question for the past few years I've known her and been mentored by her, I never asked her. But I just emailed her, hey, what would you say to this? So when I read that, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. I've not read that story though. I asked my second mastermind, who wasn't on the list, the slide, who I showed you folks last time, but she is part of it. My oldest sister, Patty. My sister, Patty, your auntie. I asked her, she's a lieutenant with Honolulu Police. When she was sergeant, she was the team leader for Honolulu Police to coordinate with FBI and CIA on protecting President Obama and his ohana whenever they were in the state of Hawaii. So she didn't know Maya at all. My older sister, Hanai Tukeki, from the system, and Maya used to put on these Christmas talk story, read stories to the children. My sister Patty met Maya through that, and they've become very dear friends. Have been friends. So my sister had introduced me to Maya as I was sharing with my oldest sister. She's the oldest of 6 of us. On some of my dreams and my wishes on how I want to contribute. So I asked my sister, time management, give me some insight that I can share. She goes, well, time management. When you got plenty to do, when things seem to be too much, ask yourself, how does one eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I said, sister, I guess I'll take that because that's coming from you, but I was hoping for something a little bit more. But you know, you think about it, that's true, right? You hear, how do you attack something that seems so out of this world, so big? You break it down into the what's next, the small steps, and you celebrate the accomplishment of each of those small steps. Before you know it, you got it done, right? So yeah, my sister, she's crisis management, what's that? Crisis management. You've probably experienced some unexpected, unplanned events so far pertaining to HIPAC. How have you managed that? Do you notice some of the same unexpected events surfacing? Should there be a plan in place to address it so that it's no longer a crisis and that the team knows how to respond, in fact, when it does surface? These are some of the things. Contingency planning is often one of the top 5 areas where businesses fail to address. And it can most times be avoided by pre-planning. Think, what can happen? What could potentially go a different way? What could potentially derail us? What could potentially surface so that it's going to throw us off our mission? Have those conversations during your planning. It's not only about planning where you want to go, but what are some of the things that can happen that are out of our control, and are we prepared to deal with it, to put the fire out? Okay. Is there a crisis plan in place for HIPAC as you think about the outcome? Is there what could potentially happen, and are there steps in place, and is the team prepared? It's like a fire drill, right? We prepare for what could be. It may not happen, but there's never any harm in preparing for what could happen, right? So according to Harvard Business Review, crisis management helps managers identify, manage, and prevent potential crises. According to Peter Drucker, right, the father of scientific management, he said, a crisis that recurs a second time is a crisis that must not occur again. A recurrent crisis should always have been foreseen. It can therefore either be prevented or reduced to a routine which employees can manage. right? So if you're noticing something that keeps popping up that just takes you guys off task, I challenge you and encourage you to talk about it and see, hey, can we put a plan in place so that we're all equipped with the know-how, the knowledge to put it out or to deal with it? Oftentimes that can be resolved. Remember one of the first classes I taught with you folks was doing the team charter? Identifying the vision, mission, what strengths of the team, how we're gonna reduce conflict, how we're gonna deal with conflict. You can weave into that how you're gonna deal with crisis management. What specifically could potentially go wrong with HIPAC? And what will you need to know to deal with that? In a nutshell, right? High overview, 3 steps to contingency planning, otherwise known as crisis management. You pre-plan. Talk about it. First, acknowledge it, right? Acknowledge that it can happen. Pre-plan. Manage at critical mass. So train everybody on knowing what's gonna happen, who's involved, especially if other groups are involved. Pull them in and share that plan. And then step 3, my most favorite, you review and you reincorporate what's been learned. You share those lessons. Is that something you folks have discussed? Contingency planning?
Really the process.
The process, okay. So I encourage you to take a deep dive into what the potentials, that could surface.
Yeah, they're definitely doing that.
Yeah, awesome. Please don't the wires. Has anybody attended any planning sessions prior to this project or prior to this business or prior to this company? Have you gone through a contingency planning training? Other than going through like fire drills, at school. Kids, right?
Yeah, we've done.
Safety training. Similar process.
Safety.
Safety training. In
Why is it
the event of emergency, right?
Or like reservations, how we run a process, a certain situation for that.
So in a nutshell, what I've led in the business world in 2003 when I helped to establish the healthcare practice, right? One of my favorite approaches to planning and pre-planning is what's working. I would want to hear from the group, what's working? Administratively, clinically, what is working? What's not working? And what do we need to do to resolve what's not working so that it is working? What's working, what's not working, and what do we need to do to move forward?
Always get contingency plan.
Yeah. And you can do contingency plans for any areas of your life, not just business. You can do personal, you can do social, friends.
We do a lot of those.
Yeah. You guys are great contingency.
I think we like those kind of plans. Some people don't always like it because it means lots of change every time. Depending
Change
on the
management
crisis.
is a whole other topic.
We're always pre-planning.
There's a man that I learned through my studies, John Cotter. He's the founder of Change Management, and he's got a phenomenal 8-step model for change management that can guide someone through or a group through. So that's another area that I'm passionate about. So if you guys have questions, any questions about tonight? We call it 7.
Yes.
Okay. Call it 7. So thank you so much. If no more questions, thank you for hanging in there and giving me your precious time.
Thank you.
I think it was beneficial for us concerning lessons, particularly with time management. I think as you were talking, I was like jotting down times on my phone, because I think if I create a deadline, I'm going to be more on it, as if, but if I don't create a deadline for myself, it just lingers.
Mhm.
Especially when we're talking about urgency and
importance.
Importance. There's no deadline created. I can actually think it's not important because it's like, I'll do it next time. So, but if there's a deadline, you're like, oh, yeah, the deadline's coming up. I better get onto it. So I'm in charge of volunteers and I've got to redo the volunteer, all the legalities, to do with the volunteer to get injured on site.
Yes.
That's something that I've kind of like for a long, progressive nervous, but it's bringing up, I like how you related all this back to high tech because it's almost like everyone was saying, it's hard because we only get a short period of time, and after that we're like thinking about something else, straight after we come here with the other projects that we're doing, not only personally but also through the company as well. So I think it was a very beneficial time. I don't think we wasted time on this one today. I think it really helped just at least focus, shift us back to the high tech. And even just like, the brief little things we said, like, we need this, we feel like, they're making decisions.
Yes.
We don't know what's happening. And it's like, oh yeah, sometimes you don't realize that until someone speaks it out and they're like, oh, yeah, it's so true. I think for me, the original intent was that everything was going to come from here.
Yes.
But now that it's taken to a board, it's become more corporate, almost, you know what I mean? They're saying stuff and it feels like it's coming down to us and we've implemented, you know what I mean, and execute it. The only thing is that we haven't done this before. And like you said, with limited information, how can we execute it well?
Informed decisions is one of the most important activities, right? Making that informed decision, gathering all your research, asking all your right questions. Right?
I think something I liked was when you were talking about importance and urgency.
Yes.
I think that's good to go back to, just in general with anything you want to do.
Get honest with yourself.
Yeah, be honest with yourself and like, is there a deadline to this?
Yes.
Maybe there's not a deadline to it, but it's important to you, but it doesn't necessarily need to be done yet because it's not a deadline compared to there is a deadline to it.
Correct.
And it may not be as important to you, but there's a deadline to it. So you need to stick to that. So it's kind of like keeping yourself in check and bringing you back to reality on what actually is important. So I really like, I think there was like a table to it or something, but that's nice to just kind of look at just in general with everything you want to do.
Yes.
So yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you for sharing about that.
Thank you.
Also, one thing your Maya said.
Yes.
With the social media.
Yes.
I thought it was sometimes I think, these guys don't, often there's important people, they don't struggle with that stuff, but I mean, just through their email, it's kind of obvious that, it even affects them, the power of social media, because, I mean, just for me, the podcast, I spend like an hour going through Facebook first, and then I get to the podcast, because I get stuck on there. So I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, and then I, something else, oh yeah. And so I end up with an hour, and then I get to the podcast, and it's like 11 o'clock.
So set your timer. I'm a tornado principle. Call it whatever other principle technique you want. Let that be a treat.
I think that's
It is dangerous.
But I mean, just the fact that she wrote like, these are distractions, and it's kind of like, even at her high level, I mean, it's a distraction to them too. It's kind of like, it's a big beast of social media.
Yes. Anything else?
Anyone else?
Anyone else want to share before?
No, it was good. Like Mo said about just bringing things back to focus on the high pack.
Yes.
And it was kind of like, I feel like we all kind of like, we were like forced to think about it and how we feel about it. So I feel like that was helpful to kind of just like see that we're all kind of on the same page and we all are kind of lost a little bit. Not in a bad way or anything, but just like what I feel like that today helped us to like know how we can approach the next meeting.
Yes.
For when they bring it up again. So
thank you. And I believe I was invited to teach next week.
Yes.
Again. May I ask, because what I want to do is contribute knowledge so that you folks achieve HIPAC successfully with some of my teachings, or just help. I want to help guide that process specifically to that outcome. So, is there any specific area you want me to be prepared to share for next week? What would you like that focus? What would benefit you folks with where you're at? There were some pretty important areas shared tonight with that process. So is there anything that's on your heart that you want me to help with by sharing for next week? I want to make sure that I'm offering contributions that are meaningful and purposeful, specific to that.
Well, and what area do you are your strengths? Like what so you talked on time management today, are you opening it up to anything to do with IPAC or a specific thing that you're actually
No, so
strictly?
I want to brain dump all of my doctoral knowledge. It's a doctorate of management in organizational leadership. So I'm passionate about building systems of excellence, people, departments, organizations, and everything in between. So wherever your needs are.
I think it'd be helpful if we can kind of get the base, like, this is going to be a fashion campaign. Boom, 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 boom. Kind of a guideline of what needs to be executed within this next time. This is going to be, say, marketing campaign. Boom, have we done this? Boom, boom. A guideline like that. This is the volunteer campaign. Boom. Have we done this? If we can do an outline to make you kind of
Shall we sketch? Shall we do a framework?
And if we can get that from that would be helpful to break it down.
Well, you got to do that.
That's what we need, to break it down. Just a general guideline so we can see where we are at.
Since we don't know where we're at.
No, this is great.
We need one of these.
I kind of know what's going on because I've been a part of the board meetings and what's going on. But what I mentioned to the leaders is that we're not being connected as the class and the board.
Correct.
And how the things are changing. There has been some changes with HIPAC where HIPAC was the festival, but now HIPAC is the umbrella to many festivals now. And the festival that is coming is now renamed as Hawaii Kuauli First Festival. So and then we made some changes to the logo with Victoria. She's not here. But so just because our team needs to be connected to what's happening, and there's a disconnect. So if we can start to break down the campaigns, because it's just being thrown at us and we don't know the in-betweens.
Let's plan to do this. Let's commit to next week, sketching out, giving a skeleton to a framework to each of the campaigns. Let's do that visually. So what I'm thinking, I have some of those big Post-it flip charts. You guys want to do that, and you guys can keep it. This will be a living document of the guidebook, the blueprint, the playbook, if you will, for each of the campaigns, and then we work backwards. We know what the campaign is and what the outcome, but what are the steps? What makes up the body of it and the substance? Right? And then the timelines, weaving those in on what needs to be done for the next steps. And we'll scaffold it, right, on what needs to be done.
Talking our language.
Yes.
I think not that we haven't done this, but the fact that we get a whole class time to actually
use it.
We
want to use the class time
I'm
for
so
HIPAC.
happy. I should have asked you folks this before. I'm so sorry.
No,
I want to do this. This will be a living lab of the creation of
I knew this is an option.
This is a living lab. We are simulating the environment. I want what you folks are learning. We're going to create the structure of the campaigns as we move forward. So let's do that. I'm wanting to do that. Thank you.
Be like we're on our own.
Thank you all. That's what I love to do. Bringing to life what's currently not living. Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I don't want to.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, we're gonna do our own mahalo. Thank you so much for your time. We know we'll have you next week, so next week will be a little bit more exciting for them, knowing that we know what we're going to be working
Absolutely. Thank you so much for
For the rest of our coaches.
Thank you.
Uhola ia kamakaloala. Hula ike alohala. Kukahi ia kahaloala. Parehi mai na lehua. Mai ka ho'oku ia ka halawaila. Mahalo e ke akua. Mahalo e na kupuna la'ea. Mahalo me ke alohala. Mahalo me ke alohala. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, everyone. Look at that. Ask you guys that.
That's good. That's fun.
I think maybe we didn't want to say it because so next week should be interesting. Next week should be
Delete.
Stop yourself, please.
I wasn't speaking at all.
Hello.
I really don't think this high thing is right.